The first update we have for you today is under the conversations. What we added, and this is kind of an evolving section of the application, is this show button. So for all of the new conversation posts that have happened within the last day or two, we'll have this button that is all the conversation posts that are automatically generated by the system. So this conversation post is related to this change order request. And when I click show here, okay, so this conversation post, when I click show, it brings up the change order request. Since this one is already approved, what we're going to see is just the read-only version. And when I close it, we'll actually come right back here to the conversations page. So one of the really handy things about this is you're able to go through a bunch of different items related to different projects without having to go into that specific project. This is really the only place within the application where you're able to access things, I think, in that easy of a manner. So if you're trying to look at a bunch of things that were created recently, this is a good place to go. So the next two updates we have here are related to tasks. After getting feedback from users, we know that there has been a desire to be able to export tasks out of KPMIC. So we've added that, and I'll show you how that works here in just a second. And then we also have this task notification log, and that is going to show you when emails were sent from the system so that you don't have to go check your inbox or go try to remember if you sent it out or not. So for the first thing, we've got our task exports. This button right here is how you do it. All you do is click it. And then what it is going to do is it's going to create an export based on the filter you're on. So if you change this filter to say all tasks, let it reload, and then click export, you're going to get all tasks exported. So for the one that I've already clicked here, what it's going to pull is all of my open tasks. It's going to pull all tasks as well as subtasks associated to these tasks that are also open. Within this export, we've got its status, the priority it's set to, the project it's aligned to, the task name, anything included in the description, as well as the start and due date. These will be filtered by the due date. Who it's assigned to, so you'll notice that some of these will pull through more than once. This schedule a meeting to review designs is an example. The reason it pulls through more than once is it's going to have one line for each person it is assigned to. And then you can tell whether or not it's a subtask in this column I here. True will be for any of these subtasks. This export button is also available from the project page. So if I were to click this go to project button, it's going to take me over to the individual project. And then this export tasks here is going to work pretty similarly to how it works on the overview. You click this and then my open tasks, you can download it, or you can switch the filter here to pick which tasks you want to download. So the other piece that changed for tasks is an enhancement here. So right now, this send assignment notification is just how it used to look. And I'm going to go ahead and click this. And this is going to send out an email to everyone who this task is assigned to. So it's just assigned to me. And you can see now it's changed to blue. So you know you sent it. And if I hover over it, it's going to tell you who sent it and when it was sent. And that list will keep a running list. So if you send it multiple times, it will include those as well. The next piece we have here is a quick one. It's the gross profit and gross profit percentage for quotes have been added onto alternates. So what we have here are a quote with a few different alternates. And so each one of these now has this alt gross profit dollar total as well as the margin total. We also added a button to allow you to duplicate a punch list item. So we got feedback from our users that sometimes you have a bunch of punch items that are really 90% the same and wanted the ability to just be able to click duplicate, and then you have a brand new one, and you can create it that way. We also have a download all button. So for those of you who have people out in the fields who are using the mobile version of KPMIC, if they are submitting pictures under your PCI or your deficiency or your status report or your billable, we went ahead and added a button on here to allow you to download all related attachments. So this one actually doesn't have attachments. I'll go ahead and add a few pictures here just so we can demonstrate it. So we've got all three things here. Before, you used to have to click into each one of these and download them. So now we have two options for your deficiency. I can download all of the documents and design files. Or if I had files down here under the images as well, we've got the zip and download all deficiency files up here at the top, and that will download all files from both sections. This will work pretty similar in the other places where we've added it, and that's the status reports, PCIs, and billables in addition to these, and the locations will be similar. Okay, so now the main event for the updates. We have added the ability to create your own schedule template that you can import into a project, either at conversion or once it has already been created as a project. So where you'll find that is under the My Company section of the application here. So that's under the building icon, or what is also commonly known as the waffle. And we've got a new tab in here for schedule templates. So all of you on the phone right now will have a dirt standard schedule template, and this is what the system has been using up until this point. It's been the default choice. And I've gone ahead and I've already created a template here where I've just added a sub item in. And when I click into this, we can see that I've added this item here called Order Loose Electrical. That's a sub item under our pre-order entry schedule item. And I'll go ahead and add a second one under here, and then I'll show you how we're able to import all of this stuff. So let's just say order all other COM items. Make sure we get the date correct here. And I'll go ahead and click save. So you can see this now shows up here. These two aren't dependent on each other, so I'm not going to add a relationship between them. But the schedule item, how it's going to import is it's going to look at the finish date, and it's going to back into all the rest of the dates from there. So whenever you create a new one, and I just created this one today, it's going to create the first item. It's going to be from the beginning of the current week. Actually change the pre-order entry date, but when you create a new one, as an example, the new schedule template will have a start date of March 5th if you were to do it today, and then the end date will be should be April 30th. And as I mentioned, it'll just back into everything else. So what you want to keep in mind is really just the relationships between these. So if the field dimensions is expected to take a week, you'll have to be a week on here. And then just make sure the gapping is correct between your schedule items. And when you pick your finish date on your project, that'll be a requirement when you import it. All of these will flow through the same way, kind of backing into everything. And don't worry if you weren't taking notes there. We have this how to use section right here. So if we just click it, this will kind of run through what I was just talking through. So each template will begin at the start of the current week. When importing it, it'll use the finish date to count back to each schedule item. So the days between each schedule item is maintained. And the requirements are you got to have a template name and at least one finish date indicated. So that's actually a pretty important point here, is that it's going to look for the last finish date. And that's not necessarily the last date in your schedule, but it's the last one that's marked as a finish date. And I'll show you that milestone item for anyone who's not familiar with that. So there are two ways to import it. It's when you're converting it to a project, and then you can also import it to an existing project. And then for how it imports, as I said, it's going to be based on the finish date. And if you have a multi-phase template that you've created, it's going to look at the last finish date, the latest one. When you're converting it, similar to the way it worked before this update, if you picked an on-site date already, that will be used. It'll override any on-site date that you have in your template. And when you're importing it to an existing project, you'll have the option to add it to your current schedule, or you can replace the current schedule. So if you're replacing the current schedule, one important note here is that all of your schedule items will be deleted if you're trying to replace it. But that also means the on-site date, if you've already assigned it to your order, will also be cleared. So you'd have to manually update it afterwards. The reason for that is because those things are intertwined. So we would really recommend only using the replace schedule if you're at the very early parts of the project and you just needed to replace the kind of stock schedule or a similar situation. But all right, so let's go ahead and save this, and I'll go ahead and import it into a project. We'll do this one on the conversion. So we'll go through the normal convert to project process here. I'm going to go ahead and add an on-site date. We'll just put it on the 21st. We'll say our finish date is, call it May 11th. And what we're going to use is we're going to use that training template, and that's the one that I was just making edits on. And then as a reminder, this is the template that has been being used prior to this update, and all of you should have that one available right now. Right, and this template description will show up here, so it'll give you a little bit of a reminder what that template's about. So I've just written the title down here to just give myself a reminder about what I had changed on that one. So I'm just going to click through these steps here. I'm not worried about filling any of this out. And what we should see after this is that we've got our two sub-items here included on our pre-order entry, and we do. And we actually see our on-site date is before this stuff, so I guess that wasn't a very good on-site date to use, but it is what we expected in that it overrode the schedule template that I just imported. So you can see here, however you pull it into or however you build your schedule template is how it will pull into here. And then the other option here is to import your schedule. So I'll go ahead and use this. We'll input the finish date here. So I mentioned that'll always be a requirement when importing. We'll still use that 11th date, and we're going to override our existing schedule item. It gets us this warning here, and that just tells you the same thing that I mentioned earlier about the on-site date would be cleared. Use this training template again, and then I'll click select. And cool. And now we see it's imported. We've got now a stock on-site date because when you import it at the project level, you are just going to get a straight import versus using any existing dates. You just pick the project finish date and it backs into everything else. Okay. So going on to the next section here is optimizing the My Company features. So we'll start on common tasks. So just as a reminder before we dive into all of this stuff, this My Company section can really be thought of as the master template for all of your company information. So anything in here is going to apply for all projects across the board for your company. So if you're thinking about your schedule templates, you can import that to any project. Same thing with these RFQ templates, contract information, etc. So for common tasks, you can import these tasks here are able to be imported into any project. And when you do, you can import these using multi-selection. So like this list here is from one of our partners who just wants to be able to pull these tasks into more or less every project as they go through. So let me demo that for you real quick. So we'll navigate into project over here to the tasks tab, and then we use this import tasks button, and then I'm going to select a bunch of these ones. I'm just holding down the control key on my side as I'm clicking through these, and then I'm going to hit the select button. And what that's going to do is it's going to pull in all of those tasks I just selected. It's going to designate me as the only person assigned to it right now, and I'll also be following it by default. So I know this might end up just being one person's responsibility to do, but not necessarily their job to do each one of these things. So with that in mind, you can just change the assignment here. So if we're saying project closeout, this is actually going to be Bo's job. So I'm going to click save here. I'm no longer following it. It just dropped off this list because this is only my open tasks, and Bo will have that one under his open tasks. But one of the handy things about this import tasks is you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to try to remember, all right, what are all the things we need to take care of for this project? We've got our standard list here, and this is just an easy way for everyone to kind of stay on the same page as you go through. Because if you're looking at the all tasks, you can see what's been checked off as marked complete, and you can see what's still open. And it's a pretty good touch point, especially for anything that is collaborative, since you can go in and comment here, which will generate an email to you, so you don't have to come back and check, has so-and-so responded to my comment yet? You'll get an email if they have. So as a reminder, the place to find that is under the waffle, the My Company page up here, and then under tasks, and you can create your common tasks here. The next one I wanted to go through, and I think a lot of partners use this already, but wanted to mention this one again because it is a really handy one if you are not using them yet. So this frequent products, all of these are available when you are building your quote. So if you've got a particular supplier that you use for your COM glass or film, or really anything, if you have an administrative fee that you include on every project, this is a great place to just go ahead and put it. So let's actually build out an admin fee here. So we'll just say administrative fee. It's not dirt products, so I'm going to leave this unchecked. This group section is if you want to kind of order things in a particular way so that you can pull a bunch of these frequent products in at once. This one isn't going to be a part of the group, so I'm going to leave that blank. The company, I'm just going to say it's for Kinetic DP. The internal notes include this on every project. The quantity is going to be 1. We're just going to say the admin fee is $250, and the profit margin, we're just going to leave that blank here because this is just purely a fee. So when I hit save here, that'll show back up in the list, and we can pull that into any quote. I'll show you how to do that in a moment. These next two sections here really work similarly to that frequent product section. So if you have items that you include on every change order, or items that you include on every pay application, I would definitely encourage you to go ahead and create these under the My Company page so that you're not just spending time rekeying these things in from quote to quote or item to item. So as far as finding your frequent products within the application, I navigated to a project, then to the quotes tab, and then I went to an existing quote. You can go to a new quote as well. And then there's this green Add Frequent Product button. When I click it, what we're going to get is we're going to get a list of all those items that were there in the My Company page. And I'm going to double click this one, but you can also do the multi-select here, similar to what we had on the common tasks. So I'm just going to click onto the administrative fee, and that one will pull right in here. And our final quote has now been updated. And I do just want to touch on a couple more things here under My Company because these features are still relatively new. Previously, we only had space here for one warehouse related to your distribution partner or to your dirt partner. And now you can add really as many as you need. So you can just create multiple warehouses. Whenever you select that BP warehouse option within the application, it'll pop up an option for you to select which warehouse you need. If you just have one, you won't get the pop-up. It'll just fill out with your one address. And we're going to touch on just a couple more project management features, and then after that, we'll go through any other items that you all on the phone would like to go through. So we'll go through status reports here. Status reports will show up here under this installation tab. The idea of these status reports is that you'll have field users who are using the mobile application or really who are out on the job site submitting these, and it'll show you what's going on in the project, how many hours are being logged for what sort of install activities, and you can use this really to build your estimates and to kind of see how you're doing against those estimates. So what we have here is a status report that's got 2 items on it right now. It's got some demolition and some layout stuff right here. So you can see that these actually went a little bit over the actual hours versus the estimated hours. So the actual were 23 versus 20, and 19 versus 16 on this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some delivery and staging hours to this status report. We'll just say this status report is just for this week. Some people do them by day, some people are doing a little bit less frequently, but however you really choose to use them. So what we want to do is say, yes, we want to track install hours. We want to pick the activity it's related to. So we'll say it's delivery and staging. You can also pick which company it's related to. So if you had a subcontractor on your project team who's doing your installation, you can add them there. And then you pull these sliders to say how much time is being used for any of these kind of labor categories. This more detailed button is going to show you the overtime selection, so you can differentiate your hours there if you need to. And it's also going to say the number of workers you have on site, so we'll just say 1 and 1 for this. And there's that zip and download all photos button that I had mentioned earlier. So having saved this, since I didn't fill in the description, it's blank there, but we do have the install activity over here on the right. So when I hit save on this, what we should see, and we do, is that this delivery and staging estimate is now updated. And our actual hours are 15 from that status report versus our estimate of 18. And you might be thinking to yourself, okay, well that makes sense. I understand where the actual hours come from, but where do the estimated hours come from? They actually come from your quote. So just show you that briefly. So within this quote, this one is designated as final here. So that's why it is pulling through over to our status reports. And down here, this install estimate, the 15 hours, or the 18 hours rather here for delivery and staging are what are pulling through and is what is being compared to when that status report is submitted. So just as a last reminder here, these status reports can be submitted via mobile. And if you use subcontractors for your install teams, or really if you use in-house or subcontractors, anyone who just needs access to submit these status reports or kind of field activities, their access is included with your licenses. So you can set up as many users as you need through the vendors tab. They will have less access than you do, but it is at no additional cost. We have a PDF as well that will walk you through all those steps to go through it. So just let me know if anyone on the call does need that. And the last thing I'm going to go through before opening it up is PCIs, just another kind of field function here. So a potential cost impact, the real benefit of using one of these things is you can create several different items from a PCI. It's more of a placeholder than anything else. It's like, okay, this may end up costing the project money. I'm not exactly sure whether it's going to be a change order request, like something that the client will end up paying for, whether it's a billable. A billable is a margin hit to the dirt partner, or if it needs to be turned into a deficiency. But these can be submitted by the field, and I think the benefit really is kind of keeping everyone on the same page. We've seen a number of different things from our partners, like some people will get like a text message of a picture of a napkin with a note written on it. Having a PCI in here is a little bit easier to keep track of. You don't really have to remember who sent it to you, when it was sent, or anything like that. All you have to do is come into the application, and here it is. So we'll go ahead and create a new one. Got a couple of previous examples here, and I'm going to use the same example, but let's say the freight elevator is too small and had to do a stair carry of some materials up. So we'll call it stair carry. The impact is going to be additional hours. And we're going to go ahead and add some details here. We're going to say it's for labor. Just call it a stair carry again. And the hours, let's say it took an extra 3 guys, an extra half day each, so 12 extra hours. The rate per hour, we'll just say it's about $40, and click Save here. And I mentioned it can be turned into any one of these 3. Those buttons are also available here within the individual PCI. I'm just going to go ahead and hit Save. And then we're going to go back here to the overview. When it is changed to anything else, it will leave a breadcrumb. So you can see this one is related to deficiency number 3. This is related to COR number 3. If it's related to multiple, it'll have both included on here. And for this one, we're going to go ahead and say that this one is a billable. So it's going to say, okay, one billable created from PCI number 3. And if we navigate over to the Deficiencies and Billables tab, we'll see this stair carry here has been newly created. And if I open it up, I'll have the reference to the PCI that I created, as well as the description from it, and the values have also transferred over. Can you repeat what the difference is from billable, deficiency, and COR? Yep, sure can. So a billable here is going to be a margin hit to the distribution partner. The deficiency is going to be something that you're going to coordinate with your DIRT counterpart on it. These are not necessarily mutually exclusive, but it will kind of get that form started for you. And then the change order request is going to be something that ultimately the client would pay for. Does that answer your question? Great.